Well, hello everyone. This is Leanne Carmi back for another week of the Jumpstart course, OVL Start Jumpstart course. Great to have you guys here. Today we've got Coach Mason and Coach Steve on the line with you, and of course me, Coach Leanne. And we've got something really exciting for you. Today is all about PPV. All right. So last time we did all mobile. Today we're doing all pay-per-view. And we've got some really interesting stuff for you. We're going to show you, Coach Steve is going to start us off talking about, pitch angles and how he comes up with ideas, because you're going to see one thing that he's got going today that was just incredible. We're going to talk about how to build out targets and how to come up with creatives. And Mason's going to do a little bit of work with you on how he got everything set up in Traffic Vans and Lead Impact. And we have so much content, we had to cut this in half. So we're going to have to do another webinar for you next week and show you the optimization that we're doing. All right. So I know I said that in the email. For those of you who got the email, we're going to have to do that next week because we have so much incredible content for you today. So I don't want to take any more time from the content. Let's go right to Coach Steve. Take it away, Steve.
Well, thank you very much. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm excited to share with you what Mason and I have been working on for the past week or two, and hopefully it really helps you guys kind of get ideas and get started. And obviously, take what we give you here and try to create your own angles and just think outside the box a little bit. So we have two ideas, two angles that we're going to talk about. The first one is a job, credit for jobs, actually. Ironically enough, we got that domain too. So the angle is simply this. If you apply for a job, you generally need to know your credit now. And a lot of people don't realize that. And it's a very good in, because you can basically say, hey, look, you're about to apply for this job. Do you know your credit score? Because they're going to check. And if you don't know it, you should know now. And here's a free way of doing that. So that's the simple idea for the credit campaign. It's target people that are looking for jobs, make sure that they know that they need to know their credit, and give them a way of doing that for free. So pretty that's the idea in a nutshell. So how did we go from there? Well, the first thing I did was say, okay, I need to research two angles, right? Who needs to really know their credit before they apply for a job? What type of jobs, should we target? And then, should we target the overall mainstream? So we did two campaigns. We set one up for basic jobs like Walmart, Kmart, Target, McDonald's, Burger King. The idea there was, hopefully these people are newer. They don't really know as much as some of these other people, that have been working for 10 or 15 years, and, hopefully they see this for free and they say, I better check this. It's free anyway. Let's check it out. So from that idea, we said, okay, I went in and, like I said, I targeted Walmart and just a bunch, just Walmart jobs. And, so we targeted like Walmart careers and Kmart careers and Target careers. And so we built a list of about 100 different targets. And we saw very minimal results out of the gate. So we said, okay, all right, well, let's, we can keep going this angle, or let's try the other side, okay? So what places actually do check your credit, where we're not saying, hey, you should just be, being vague, you should know it because they might, what places actually say, what, we are going to check your credit because it's very important for us to know your credit before we hire you. So I did some research, and what I came up with was banks. That's a no-brainer, right? Banks, financial institutions, mortgage companies, stockbroker companies, places like this that really, they're going to check you. They're going to do a background check. They're going to check, your credit, because credit does kind of give you an idea of how responsible somebody is with their money. And if you're working for a bank, that's something they obviously want to know. So just an example here, I pulled up this, I just did a Google search, top banks in the U.S., right? And this is the page I chose. So here we go. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo. So here's all the biggest banks in the country. So then I just simply go in and I type in JP Morgan jobs. And here we go. Careers.jpmorgan, right? There's a good target. Pick that, start going on to the next ones, right? Careers.jpmorgan. And you just go through the list. And this does take a little time. It's, it's like I said, you can scrape stuff. But this is a lot more in depth. I'm going to get targets out of the gate that I know should work. And if they don't, I can cut them out, instantly. So what we did for this is we're using Think Credit Report. It's not, something, where we want a direct link here because we have to explain. So I had a designer build us some creatives. And here is the first creatives we did were for like Walmart, Kmart. We said, okay, warning, employers are going to check your credit score before they hire you. Don't get surprised during an interview, right? Pretty cool little, creative. It's catchy. People are pointing. And then if they just click here for free credit score, boom, it goes right to our offer. They sign up, we get $29. Pretty cool, right? So here's another one we had. So we could just split test a couple. Just a different, different creative. You always want to test as many as you can. I start with 2 generally. If they don't work, then I'll get 2 more built, right? But new employers will check your credit score. You don't know it, they will ask. Find out free now. Click, boom. We get paid if they sign up. Now, with that creative, I can also go into the banks idea, right? Which we talked about. We have 2 different angles for this one campaign. Well, now I'm saying, hey, banks will check your credit score before they hire you, right? Now I'm targeting banks. So I'm just going to put that simple word in there. The only difference here is, let me go back here. The only difference here is instead of saying employers, I'm saying banks. That's it. It's just targeted more. Right. And we're popping over sites that people are going to apply for a bank job like JP Morgan Chase Careers or bankofamerica.com careers or wachovia.com careers. You get the idea. So we ran some campaigns with that. I'm going to let Mason kind of go over the results with you on that. We saw minimal results. It definitely, we have to build some more stuff out. Traffic was not there for some sites. It was for others. That's the cat and mouse game. You have to figure out where the traffic is. If there's a lot of traffic and it's not working still, then, we have to go back and maybe fix our creatives, right? Because the targeting is there. These are people that are going to apply and, so it's your perfect demographic. And that's the idea, like behind PPV in my mind is you want your ads being shown to people that are 100% going to have relevance to what you're showing. Like there's no gray areas. Like, well, I already know my credit. So, and then, on that note, on the idea of banks, I mean, people that apply for banks are generally going to know their credit score that was kind of, one of my fears in doing this, but it's something that I think has merit and it's definitely going to work. So let's switch gears a little bit. We also ran another campaign, where we said, all right, well, this is a relevant topic for everybody, right? Healthcare, health insurance. And it dawned on me because I was actually on the site filling this out, about a week ago because I was applying for health insurance, right? With the new healthcare from the government. So sure enough, I'm on, healthcare.gov, right? I'm like, wait a minute. This site is down. It was down for the first week. So it's obviously getting a ton of traffic. What can I pop over this site that would work? Well, a health insurance offer, obviously, but that's not really vague enough, or that's a little too vague. So we found an offer, running this offer right here. It's called My Health Insurance Quote. It's got save up to 30% on healthcare coverage. People put their name and their phone number in, boom, we get paid $6. Awesome. So obviously we knew that there was going to be a lot of traffic here, right, at healthcare.gov. So we went in and we just did a test. And wouldn't you know it, out of the gate, we hit 100% ROI and we're, doubling our profit right out of the gate. And, so that's working. So now we're building out more creatives for that. We're scaling up, more targets. And that campaign is definitely going to be a winner. The idea behind this, guys, and explaining this to you is think about what's relevant. Think about what's going on currently, right? We've talked about in the forum, current events, trends are very good with PPV. This is a brand new website, obviously, that's going to get a ton of traffic. Now, traffic isn't a penny. It's not going to be, it's not cheap. I think we're bidding, Mason will fill us in, but I think we're bidding like 10 or 15 cents a click, right? So it's not going to be as cheap, but it's super targeted. You know, we know that everybody going to this site is interested in healthcare. So that solves that problem. It's 100%, you know, they're going to see this and hopefully they're going to love it and go with it, you know. There's two distinctions also I want to make, you know. With this is a quick 2-form submit on the offer, right? You only need a name and phone number. So what we decided to do was, well, we needed, you know, with the credit reports, we had to explain to them why they needed the credit report. So hence we built this creative. Had we just gone in and said, here's think credit reports over these sites, they would have been like, you know, what's this for? Why do I need this? So our creatives, what they're doing is saying, hey, they're going to check you. You need to check this, you know, find out now. The lesson here is simply this. If you need to explain more, that's when you build a creative. That's when you build something out that's going to basically say, this is why you need this. This is the whole reason you're signing up for this, right? So with the health insurance, well, we didn't need a creative, right? Because it's just a quick two forms, boom. The less clicking your end user has to do, the higher the conversions you're going to have. It's very simple. So direct linking can be great, but then you also have to really think to yourself, well, you know, is this offer going to look good on a pop-up? So what we'll do is and let me just check.
And let me pause you for a second, Steve,
Sure.
Because I just want to call attention to a couple of things that you said. And first of all, it's so important. I mean, it's so important to get into the person's mindset that's seeing your pop-up ad, right? Because, you know, what Steve's explaining is so essential. You know, whether you can direct link or not, and I think a lot of us make the mistake of popping up an offer because we think, well, this is obvious. This person is on this site. It's obvious what they would do here. But we really need to think about why they're on the particular site they're on, get into the conversation in their heads, and tell them why they need what we're offering. And obviously that implies that we're going to go in there and give them something of value, right? That's what we do as marketers, is we solve people's problems. We give them something that's going to help them. And so it's so important to think about the person that is on that page, what they are thinking, and whether it's as obvious to them what what they need to do with your offer. And it probably isn't. It probably isn't. And that's why so often you do need a pop-up, you know, that's not the direct link to the offer. And that's why with healthcare, it probably works without it, because we already know exactly why they're on that page, and that's exactly what that offer gives them. So I just wanted to call attention to that. And also to just going back to, you know, how Steve was looking up banks, right? And looking up the job sites for banks and getting targets that way. So many people come on the forum and they ask for, you know, basically the step-by-step, show me exactly how to do it. Well, as you can see, there's no exactly, because it depends what you're working on. And it's amazing to see how Steve thinks, but you can start thinking that way as well when you're doing things online. So when you're doing something, looking for something of interest to you, realize that there are many other people doing the same thing. And, you know, you can get in their heads because you're there. Right? It's your head. And that's a good time to create a campaign and to think about the person and to offer them, again, something of value. So with that, I'll give it back to Steve.
Yeah, I think, you know, and maybe I should talk a little bit more real quickly. Go ahead, Mason.
Oh, yeah, never mind. This is what I was going to ask you about the sizes.
Yeah, I'm about to get into that, but let me retract real quick. Let me kind of elaborate a little bit more on what Leanne said, because that's super crucial in my mind, so that you don't waste money on campaigns. You know, you have to go into a campaign knowing out of the gate, man, this is, you know, if I was going to this site, what do I want to see? Like if I'm, like Leanne said, you know, part of the first part of building an angle and figuring out whether or not, hey, this has a chance of working, you know, that's your confidence level, right? Is simply this. I needed healthcare, right? So I was looking at that, and then it just popped in my head, no pun intended, that, wait, this site's going to get a ton of traffic. Everyone that's coming here is looking for one thing, health insurance. This is a no-brainer, right? So this is something we started doing after we were doing our original case study, you know, just to kind of basically show you two ways of doing things. You can direct link, or you can build creatives. why you need to do both. So that kind of informs you, okay, it answers questions. Well, when do I need to build a creative? Well, when you're not, when your creative is vague and they don't know, they're not going to sign up. But if it's right there and it says, hey, save 30% from the health professionals, give me your name and your phone number, they know, right? If you go to a job site and you see a credit link just pop up by itself, well, they don't know. So that's the difference. The less clicking you can do, the better you're going to do. Our creators are pretty solid. I think there's one a nice big call to action button that says free credit score. So they know right there that it's free, and so that's a good way of looking at it. One thing about direct linking that's super, super important, and you do need tools for this. I have never even looked for a free tool. I'm sure they're out there, but you need to be able to view the pop-up like everyone else is going to see it, right? So I use this, this site called CPP Domination, and basically I go down to the pop-up viewer, and look, it says view traffic advance, view media traffic, view lead impact, add-on, all the top 5 PPV contextual places are here, right? So I put my link in, and let's see what it looks like in Traffic Advance. Look at that. It's not the whole page. We're cutting out, but save up to 35% on healthcare coverage. Boom, boom, get quotes. It's all right there. And then look, you also see Blue Cross, Humana, Aetna, Health. I mean, you see major brands up here, right? That gives you a warm fuzzy that it's got to be legit, right? Blue Cross is up there. And it's just a quick, professional advice. I just want professional advice. I need to know, with everything going on with Obamacare and this new healthcare for the whole country. I don't know anything about this, right? Well, let's get free professional advice. Now, you pop that up, right, on a site like healthcare.gov where people aren't sure exactly what's going to happen. It's got a good chance. So that was the idea. When I saw, the direct link for this campaign, and I'm about to get into, how I found my offers and et cetera. But I knew right out of the gate, I had my confidence level was like 100% on this. Like I knew this was going to work. And sure enough, it does. And Mason's going to show you more about the numbers. But so here's where I want to look for my offers for this, right? The first campaign with credit reports, there's a few credit reports that work well in PPV. It's Think Credits does really well, and that's just knowledge from the industry. I know from talking to other affiliates. So I just ran that one out of the gate. I know FreeScore 360, if you can get it on PPV, works well as well, but those are probably your top 2 for PPV. Health insurance is a whole different game. I have never pushed anything with health insurance. So for me, I had to kind of go through, I went to OfferVault and just, obviously I did health insurance and I did some clicks. Now, I know out of the gate, okay, $70, $54, I don't want these. They're going to need way too much information for PPV. So I'm going to go straight to the last page, and I'm going to work backwards. All right. So let's start here. We're going to go right here from the bottom, right? And like they say, the smaller the payout, the easier it is to convert. That's why they pay you less. So 60-second health, that looks like a decent one, right? No preview. Yep, move on. Keep going up. These are paper calls. We don't want that, although we are going to test that. SpeedyHealthInsurance.com, right? Let's look at this one. All right, no preview still, so that sucks. I could pull the link. In fact, I've already looked at this offer and gotten it set up. Like we just haven't tested it yet. $320 though for the payout. And what I saw with the lander was that there were like 4 or 5 fields that were needed, and the payout was almost half of what we were getting with this other offer. So we started with this other offer, for obvious reasons. Allied Health, well, that's email only, so that won't work. How healthy? This is a good one right here. We haven't tried this yet, but we're probably going to. It's a quiz. How healthy are you? Right? Just click on it. Look, think about it. Like people are going to get health insurance. Well, this is relevant. So we're definitely going to test this. 540. Take the quiz to see how healthy you are. I'm sure you get your 540 after they finish the quiz. So on and so forth. So the offer we chose was with a network I work with. After I did some research and saw what was out there, then I went to the networks I work with and said, okay, like I said, I've said in the forum, if you're not aware, then I'm very transparent. I put a lot of trust into my affiliate managers and the networks I work with. I feel like if I can't tell them what I'm doing, if they're going to steal it, and tell their other publishers, then there's no chance I work with them. So, but I'm also on a personal named, I've met all my affiliate managers for the most part, and and that's part of it as you grow, that you'll build that trust. So I went to one of my AMs from a network and said, hey, I need this all, this is the kind of offer I need. What do you have? And he sent me the offer we're using, actually. And he sent me this. He said, I can pay, $560 on this out of the gate. I'm like, $560 for 2 fields, PPV, targeted, winner. Let's test it, right? So there's my target. There's this, sorry about that. We're about to get into the numbers here in a minute, so Mason can kind of show you, the evolution of how this started, how he built it, what he did. But the front part of this, guys, for any campaign you do with PPV is crucial. You're going to save money. You're going to save time, which is money. And you're going to save, you could think, if you don't plan and research this properly, you're going to say, oh, well, this may not, you may think it might not work because you didn't do it right, So put the time into research. Research with any campaign, the more you put in, the more you get out. It's all there is to it, It took me maybe an hour to build my bank creatives, right? My first list of 100, an hour. It's just simple Google search, JP Morgan jobs, Bank of America careers, all the banks, right? Then I went into, financial institutions like Morgan Stanley, jobs, how do I be, even keyword searches, like how do I become a lender, or how do I become, a lending professional where, I close houses for banks, like things like this, and that's what helped me get inside that potential job applicant's head, right? So with whatever you do, no matter where, if it's PPV, no matter what it is, research. You have to. Like researching that's what, it's probably my strongest ability in terms of marketing. And that's why a lot of times when I start a campaign, I win right out of the gate. And that's not common. You don't do that a lot, especially with arbitrage. You have to kind of sift through data and say that works, that doesn't work, and usually you're going to lose right out of the gate. So with the right planning and the right, it's a lot. It makes your life a lot easier. And then you can move on to other, campaigns, and you can start running more. And, that's when you start really building things up. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? The angles we did, targets we did, creatives. Mason, do you want to start talking a little bit more about the results and building this out? Or Leanne, do you want to start taking questions real quick?
Sounds good to me.
Let me just say this for those of you who are live on the call. We do have the questions box and we are watching it. So go ahead and ask your questions. I mean, if you're watching the replay, obviously you can post in the forum and we'll get your questions answered. But you're here live and this is your chance to interact with us. So go ahead and put your questions in the box or your comments, and we are watching those. I mean, I've got the questions box wide open on my screen. So definitely take advantage of that. All right, take advantage of that. And we do have a question coming in. And this is a great question from Carol. She says, did you make this pop-up page or was it provided by the company that you're promoting as an affiliate? So I don't know which one Carol's talking about, but Steve, let's just talk about both this offer
Sure.
and the job pop-ups.
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually. Okay, let me go into here, creatives right here for. I'm obviously running this through creatives. I have 2 email creatives and I have 1 just direct link. And this is
and it
looks
like it looks like Carol's talking about this particular pop-up. Yeah, can you hear us, Steve? I think your audio was a little bit delayed for a second there. But I think Carol's talking about this particular page that we're looking at. So this is the actual landing page. This is the, if you can see the link up on top where it says myhealthinsurancequote.com/blue, and then it has a CID, a source ID, and an AID. That stuff is linking back to Steve, right? That stuff's linking back to Steve. So this is the actual offer on the network, and when someone fills this out, this is already going to link back to his account, and he's going to get paid, right? He's going to get paid that $5.60. And I'll let Steve talk about the other creatives and other ways to do this. But when you're direct linking, I mean, you're going right to the offer, right? Exactly. That's his affiliate code. So Steve, you still with us?
That's not the link that we put into Traffic.ves. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, so that's not the link we'll use to work with, this is just to show you guys, right now, obviously something that Mason's going to talk about with, we use C5 for tracking, and that kind of lets us see what creative did what target did what, and that kind of, the, the analytical data. What I'll do is I'm going to start at the network and see what banners they have, what what just HTML creatives, even just what the out, and maybe to my designer and say, look, I really like this page. I need it in this format. I need it, at this, because obviously your size is going to be different for traffic vents. And actually, I posted something in the forum about that. But lead impact, traffic vents, direct CPV, they all have to have them build out different sizes depending on where you're going to run this. But it's a good idea if you're going to have to have a designer build something out, or if you're going to do it yourself. You can just build off of that. The designer basically said, look, here's the idea. And once again, I was transparent. I know it's a good idea and it's a good angle and people can rip and steal, but those people don't also have my resources or my my abilities in terms of doing other things. So I can't be scared of that. Like, especially when it's a designer, the more you give a designer about what you're doing, the more creative input he can put in. Like the finger pointing, that was his idea, but I think it's beautiful. I think it's like, hey, do you know? It just it rings a bell to me. So take as much information that's free as you can get, and then start building stuff out based on that. If the advertiser is building out banners and creatives, it's probably, and they give those to the networks, they probably work. That why would they give them creatives that don't work? They probably tested them. So build off of that, and then on top of that, just so you guys know, when you do get build out a creative like this yourself, don't ever just start running it, because the advertiser is going to see it and say, wait a minute, we didn't approve this, and they're not going to pay you. So I had these built. I sent them right back to my AM. In fact, he made me do a couple of revisions. In fact, we said, because we had free credit report, we had to change that to free credit score, because you can't offer a free credit report because that's not what these sites do. They just give you your score. So that was a very good question, though.
And Steve, just because your audio cut out earlier a little bit, I just want to just kind of summarize some of the things that you said. And basically, if you're direct linking on PPV, you're going right to the landing page. Okay, so there's no building out anything. A lot of these offers will give you creatives that you can use, as Steve was just saying. They'll have email creatives if you're an email marketer. They'll have sometimes landers that are good for PPV. Sometimes they'll have ad copy for AdWords, whatever way that they've tested, they'll make that available to the affiliate networks, who will in turn make it available to you as the affiliate, and or CPA networks rather. And in other cases, like in this particular one that we're looking at now, the Cr3at1ves.com site here, this was actually created. So Steve got some ideas. He actually looked at, if you saw our research module with Box of Ads, we actually, Steve actually went through and looked at some examples of what was out there and working, what people were using, and he worked off of that and said, I think this would look good. He grabbed a designer and had the designer put that together, and then we just added the links to the page. So that hopefully that clarifies that question, Carol, because that was a great question. We also have a question from Jim. It's kind of long. Let me just read it real quick here. All right, so Jim says, when you use the different PPV services to preview your creatives, do you just look for certain items, like the example you showed was cut off on the right but had all the important items shown, or do you look at all the networks previews and select the network that displays the best?
Both. You know, you want to look, I mean, when you find an offer, just because it looks like a good offer with 2 fields doesn't mean it's going to work unless it pops up properly. And that's another determination of whether or not you have to have a creative built, or, you know, because you can always build a creative similar to that, you know, and then just condense it so that you can see the whole page. But then you have to do, you know, there's a lot more into it, because they won't be able to just fill out the forms right there in your creative unless you populate that directly in. And there are ways that's a lot more higher level. But Jim, to answer your question, my thing is this: like, when you look at an offer, like, it's just common sense, right? So I went here and I looked at this. Let's just do it again. Look, I can put my name in. I can put my phone number in, right? It's right there, and then get quotes and I get paid. That's easy, right? No, this is not here. It's a pretty face. That's awesome. But I don't need the pretty face, man. I need this. Save up to 35% on healthcare coverage. Then I need Blue Cross. I need, you know, that's the relevant stuff. This is what's going to sell it, right? Not a pretty girl smiling. I mean, she's pretty, no, that's great. You know, save money now. Healthcare reform is passed. Get insured today. You know, that's great. People know that. Not the end of the world. So this, when I saw it like this, when I saw this thing pop up, I got really excited because I knew out of the gate it was going to work. But they don't all work, you know, and that's part of your offer research. And when you're looking at Offer Vault, and then or the networks you're already running, you know, use something that previews. If you want a direct link and you're not previewing your pop-ups, you're crazy. Like, there's no way it's just shooting in the dark. You know, like, you have to know what your end user is going to see to determine whether or not it's going to work, right? You know, that's just simple common sense. So, but in terms of answering your question, like, what do you look for? Good, clear call to action. Forms are right there. I don't have to move a page. I can just type, get quotes. I get paid, you know, and then the key term right here, save up to 35% on healthcare coverage, right? So I hope that answered your question.
All right, awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Mason has for us, because I know he's going to be showing some of the actual network stuff. So Steve's really the big, huge idea and research guy, and Mason just makes it happen. So take it away, Mason.
All right. So I'm just going to show you guys some stats, show you guys also some of the indicators that we look for early in the campaign to decide whether it's something that we're going to continue to run or pull it, which is something that you really need to understand, or, you know, because what happens is, if you let things run too long, even if you find profitable ones, then all the bad ones that you let run for longer than you needed to are going to drag down your overall profitability, if that makes any sense. So I'll just get right into it here. We'll look in here. You guys saw CPV Lab before. It's just a tracking tool that we use for tracking CPV campaigns.
So hang on, Mason. We still see Steve's screen, so if you can just grab the screen from him.
Yeah, I can't see the screen.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, we're just looking at Steve's screen.
I'll make myself a presenter. Sorry about that. Okay. Can you see it?
It's good. I see CPV Lab.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, so you can, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy to figure out, but all these tracking tools kind of work the same way. We've talked about that actually in the past, a few weeks ago. But what we did here with the credit score thing that Steve was showing was we first of all, you know, we set up the campaign CPV Lab. You can use Prosper 202, Tracking 202 if you want to for free. However, this has, you know, some functionality that's more specific to PPV and whatever, and it's not that expensive. If you're going to do PPV, then I highly recommend you get a tool like this. This is really the only one that I've ever used. I know there's some others out there, but I can't comment on how good they are. But this one works well for us. So this is the campaign setup page. It's very similar to the direct linking one that we showed before. However, instead of selecting direct link, you select landing page. And then you just put your links for your landing page here. And I named one point and one stop because when we look at the report, we want to have an idea about, you know, what that page is about instead of, you know, just page 1 or page 2 or something. So we know the one has the stop sign on it and the other's got the people pointing, as Steve showed. So you put the offer URL there. I name the offer because we can actually, and one cool thing about CPV Lab is if you have a landing page, you know, when they click from the landing page to go to the offer, you can actually rotate that as well, which is cool. So it'll give you a rotator URL to put on the landing page so that you can test multiple offers with the landing page. So you can rotate, in theory, you know, several landing pages with several offers on both of them if you want to, or even 3. In PPV, it's not necessarily a bad idea to run more than 2 landing pages, just as, you know, because the whole concept is to throw things up against the wall and just see what sticks. So the more the better. Actually, we only did 2 for this example, but you can do 10 if you want to. Change the headline, change something on there, maybe change the picture, you know, since it's sort of an interruptive, creative, you know, the imagery and everything's kind of important in terms of, you know, the click-through rate from the page to the offer. So once you do that, you know, you just select whatever network it's from. You can add those in the settings if you want to, if it's not already listed. And then what it does is this link here this is a rotator URL that simply just displays the 2, you know, one page or the other page, and you can set these at whatever percentage of traffic that you want to. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, you know, one thing is once you find a winning page, which we haven't yet on this, but once you find a winning page, you know, you may want to run 90% of your traffic to the winning page so you can keep making money, and then 10% to a new page so you always have something up and coming, because what happens is the pages start to burn out, you know, because the traffic pool is not unlimited for any given target on a PPV network. So, you know, you always want to keep testing something new. I think a lot of people, they get lazy and they find something that makes money for a little while, and then it kind of burns out and they move on to the next thing. In order to avoid that, to keep everything running, you know, as long as possible and making money longer, it's always good to run some percentage of your traffic to something new that you're testing, you know, just for the longevity of the campaign. So in this case, when it's a new, you know, if it was 3, we do 33, 33, 33, or whatever, and then just run it equal because we don't know anything yet. Yeah, so this link right here is the one that you put on the landing page. So you do have to modify the HTML a little bit to use a landing page. I think a lot of people get intimidated by that. I don't really like doing it either, to be honest with you. So we outsource a lot of this stuff. You know, I don't want to be messing around with code and stuff like that. But this is actually a pretty simple thing to do. It's just got click for offer. So if you had a call to action right there, whatever it is on the page, you're in the text on the, you know, in your body on the page, then you would just literally paste this in, and then whatever you want to link. So this is the anchor text, right? So that's the text that's actually going to be clickable, and then it's going to go to this link, which is our Cr3at1ves is just an arbitrary domain that we registered to install this tracking script. So it'd be whatever your domain is. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. That'd be the only difference for you. And then, so this link right here actually doesn't really identify anything, because the way that it works is it has, you know, you have to add, well, we'll get into that in a second. You have to add this to the page. And what this does is this is a little bit of JavaScript that captures information about the click and then passes it back to CPV Lab. So it knows what target, and all that other stuff that you're tracking. So an important thing to do also, we talked about this before, always test your link. And then once you get in traffic advance, there is a option to test it there. If you don't have CPV domination or something like that, you can actually test your link in traffic advance itself, and it'll show you exactly the way that it'll look when it pops up. So that's important to do. You want to size those creatives so that they look okay when they pop up. If people can't read or they can't see your picture, whatever you want them to see, then it's useless. So you want to always check that. So this stuff here you don't have to do. You just copy and paste that on the page, and then use your tracking link on the page, and then use this link in the actual ad network itself to send the traffic to. And this link, as I said, will rotate the offers or whatever. Now, this keyword thing at the end is kind of important. What that is that's a dynamic thing that basically traffic advance, whenever it shows the pop-up, it's going to put the target. It says keyword, but really it's a target. It could be a keyword if you're using keywords, but it puts that at the end of the link and then passes that back to CPV Lab, and then this code here sees that, and then actually first it passes it to our landing page. If we were direct linking it, it would just pass it directly back here. But first it's going to pass it to the landing page. Then this code's going to pass it back to CPV Lab. That's just how the reporting works. So, and this little parameter at the end, the keyword equals keyword, that can be different depending on what network you're using. So they have them preset in here for you, so you don't have to know. If you're using a network that's not in CPV Lab, you can actually add new networks in there, and then tell them what their code looks like, they call it a token, what it looks like. And you don't have to worry about this one. I mean, that can be anything, because that's just the keyword equals part, and that can be anything you want. But this thing right here is specific to the actual networks themselves. Another cool thing here is they have an engage rate. I set it at 3 seconds. And what that does is it's going to tell us the percentage of traffic that looks at that creative for 3 seconds. So that's kind of a secondary metric that you can use to see, if you're getting any traction at all on there. You may not be getting conversions, but if you've got, this just gives you some kind of indication about that, which I kind of like. Okay, so then the pixel, of course, you can place that, either give that to your affiliate manager or place it, like Neverblue, you can place it through the interface. And what that does is it keeps you from having to upload sub-IDs, because every click, the way that it identifies that click is it assigns a unique random number or series of characters. It could, that's arbitrary as well. It creates one randomly and then assigns all the click data to that particular number. And then, your affiliate network in your sub-ID report will just have a bunch of random numbers in it. So you just take the ones that converted, and you can actually upload them right here, update stats with converting sub-IDs, and then you just paste them in there. And that tells them, hey, these particular clicks actually resulted in a conversion. So then when you pull your report, it knows, what was the target, what was the circumstances around that conversion.
Mason, I'm going to pause you for a second, and I want to address our audience here. And I want you guys to, right now, in the questions box, and I want everybody who's on right now to do this, right now in the questions box, give us some feedback on tracking. And I want you to say, yeah, I totally understand tracking. It's super easy to me right now, or it doesn't make any sense at all. And put some of your questions about tracking, because this is so essential. This is like one of the most important parts of doing PPV and doing any marketing. And I remember it took me so long to just get a basic understanding of how it works. So right now in the questions box, type it in, whatever your question is or how you feel about tracking. Do you have a basic understanding of it? Is it still totally confusing? Because I want to make sure that you're with us. And those of you who are here live, you're representing all the people that can't make it live because it's 3 a.m. where they live. And so take the time to post that question in right now. And I've got some coming in. I'm going to pick a few for us to talk about. Okay, and Carol says, it's very difficult to understand, but I've never done it. Totally confusing. All right, so that's a really good point you make, Carol, because once you go in there and start trying to figure it out is when it starts to really make sense in your head, right? Because as soon as you start, then you get the real questions like, oh, I remember Mason said this and that, but how does it actually, work? And CPV Lab actually walks you through what you need to do, where you need to put stuff. But if you've never gone in and edited HTML, even though it's a copy and paste, if you've never done that, it can be really daunting. So I wonder, what I'll do for you guys, I'm going to write this down right now in my notebook because I'm the one, Mason said, we outsource all this stuff. I'm the one who actually went in and put all the links on the landing pages. So I am going to actually...
we outsource to Leanne.
Yeah, you outsource to me. So I'm actually going to record, and I'm going to write this down for you. I'm going to record a quick video for you for the Jumpstart members. Make sure I put it in the right form area. And I'm going to show you how to set up the tracking in HTML. Okay, just so you can actually see it being done, even though CPV Lab really walks you through it. But here's, we'll go through this. We've got other questions popping in, and I'll pick a few to answer again. But Carol, I'm going to come back to you because I want to talk about really how it works. Jim says, I understand the high level, but we need to do it myself to get the arms around the nuances. Yeah, and getting the big picture is really important. So congratulations on that, Jim. And Carol says, I set up an account on Lead Impact thinking I need to move it to CPV Lab. So Carol, CPV Lab is a tracking platform. So you don't actually run traffic on CPV Lab. You use it to track. So let's talk about how that works, okay? Because I really want everybody to get a good understanding of it. And Carol, you're being brave and putting the question out there, but there's probably about 100 other people who have the same question who are not asking it. So the way it works is, really simplistically, you've got the offer and you've got the traffic, right? The offer comes from the affiliate network or the CPA network, and the traffic comes from the ad network. Ad networks like Lead Impact or Traffic Vans or Direct CPV, okay? And we're talking, specifically PPV here. And there's other ones too, but those are the big ones. Now, here's what happens. You could just take your link from the affiliate network, or I'm going to use affiliate network for CPA network interchangeably. So you can grab that affiliate link and place it right in the ad network, and you'd be direct linking, right? You'd be direct linking, and you wouldn't be tracking anything. So you might have 10 targets set up in the ad network. If you remember, Steve actually showed us how to add targets a few weeks back, and you can go back to that webinar and review it. But you wouldn't actually be tracking. So if one target was doing really well and another one was taking all your money, you wouldn't know that. And so what we've done here, and what you should always do with every campaign that you do, is we've put tracking right in the middle. So now we've got something in the middle. So now we're not putting the affiliate link directly in the ad network. We're putting our affiliate link in the tracking software, which we've got installed on a domain called ClickTrack, right? It doesn't matter. Yours would be installed anywhere. It doesn't matter. It could be mytrackingdomain.net, right? But we're putting our affiliate link there, and then we're taking a link from our tracking software and putting in the ad network. And what that's doing for us is it's given us the ability to track and to see which of our keywords or URL targets are actually getting us paid, which ones are costing us money, and we should turn them off. It's letting us know things, and it's also giving us the ability to rotate things, right? As Mason was showing, well, I'm not sure which landing page will do better for us and give us more conversion. So you know what? I'm going to throw both of them in there. And Mason, can you scroll up just a little bit so we can see the landing pages on that? And what And so right there, it says landing page and offer URLs for campaigns. And we've got 2 of them. And you see on the right side, it says share percentage. Well, it's allowing us to say how much we want to give each of those. And we don't know which is going to work. So we've got 50% for both. So one's going to go and then the other one and then the other one and then the other one, right? It's going to switch back and forth at 50%. And you can change that. Right now, I'll skip ahead and I'll come back. So skipping ahead, let's say you find one that works really well. Well, you're going to set that one at 80 or 90%, and then you're going to test 2 new ones at your remaining 10 or 20%. Why? Because you want to keep the campaign profitable, but you want to see if you can kick it up a notch, right? So that's the beauty of that. And Mason, if you would scroll back down to the offers, the tracking software also allows us to split test offers. Okay, so maybe I've got an offer from Envious Media and another one from Neverblue and another one from Peerfly, and I don't know which one is going to do better. Or maybe I've got all 3 offers from Envious Media, but I don't know which one is actually going to convert for me. Okay, so, and Mason, if you can scroll down a little bit more where it says offer, just so we can see all the boxes for the offer. And it's pretty much the same as the landing page and offer URLs, right? So right now we've got 1 offer in there for the credit, but we could have, thank you. So you see we can add another one and another one, and we could add more if we wanted. We would just click on add offer. There's a little button there. We could also add, a million landing pages. If we're running millions and millions of impressions because we have $1 million a week budget, we could do that. We don't, so we're not going to go crazy with it. We want to have enough data. But this tracking software gives us the ability to do that. So what does it give us the ability to do? It gives us the ability to see which of our targets are working and which are not, so we can optimize. It gives us the ability to see which of our landing pages are working and which are not, so we can optimize and improve. And it shows us which offers are working so that we can cut off the other ones and focus on the ones that are making us the money. So that is why we've got that in between. So we've got the affiliate link from the affiliate network. We've got the ad network where we're placing it, but we're putting this in between. And all the crazy, messy stuff that's confusing and that you're saying, well, how do you do this? The technical stuff, all that is it's PHP and JavaScript. And all that is the way that we take this tracking software and allow it to work. So you're going to see in the video that I'll record for you and put in the Jumpstart forum that it's very easy. You copy and paste. You open up your landing page. You find the right place. It tells you where to go. It even says, edit landing page offer link. So you know where your button is. You're going to have a link there, and you're going to change it to base2.php with your URL or wherever you've got, we've got ClickTrack. You're going to have some other domain where you're putting your tracking software. And Mason, if you could scroll down a little bit more so we could see the rest of the instructions. I really want to go in detail here because I think it's daunting until you see how simple it is. Then it says step 2, add code to landing pages, and it tells you paste on landing page before the /body tag. So what do? You open up the HTML. You'll see me do this in the video. You look for the /body tag and you paste it right before that. You just click on it, highlight everything, copy it, right-click copy or Control-C copy if you like doing keyboard shortcuts, and you place it on the HTML and you save it. Okay, personally, I use, I'm on a Mac, I use CyberDuck to FTP in, and then I use Text Wrangler to edit stuff while it's online. It edits it on my computer and it sends it back online, and I'll show you how I do that in the video. Okay, see it's got the step 2B there, and you can add a code to track direct traffic. I originally put that on our pages. It's step 2B right there at the top of the screen now. And I put that on the pages originally, and we actually got incorrect data, so I took it off and it fixed it. Okay, so it's just a slight error on CPV Lab, but you can keep that off. That's not necessary. You don't need it because you're not going to get direct traffic to that landing page. You're only going to get it when you're sending it through the ad network. So ignore step 2B when you do this, and I'll talk about that in the video just to remind you. And then, very important, see that place where it says tracking pixel? It says add pixel to the affiliate network. So here's another thing that can be really confusing, but all you're doing is you're giving the affiliate network a chance to talk back to your tracking software. Okay, so now as it's sending clicks, you're using the sub ID that's provided to you at the affiliate network, because all affiliate networks are going to give you the ability to put sub IDs in there to add some information. But it's given you the ability to send sub-IDs to the affiliate network and to get them back automatically. So when Mason went and said, you can upload your converting sub-IDs, that would involve you logging into the affiliate network and saying, okay, here are my conversions. You look at your reports, you look at your conversions, you grab all the sub-IDs, which are these random letters and numbers that are created by CPV Lab, the tracking software, and you would plug them in. Well, this would do it automatically by just adding a pixel to the affiliate network. Some networks that use has offers, for example, would allow you to do that automatically. Some networks, you have to talk to your affiliate manager and say, here is my pixel. Can you please place it for me? Okay. And that's it. That's it. Ignore that next one. I've never used it, the iframe pixel. Okay. I've never ever used it. I don't even know what it's for. And if you ever need to use it, you'll already know how. Right? It's that simple. So I'll show that in the video, but that's what that is. All you're doing is you're putting something in between the affiliate network and the ad network so that you can see what's working, so that you can split test, and so that you can optimize. So I hope that makes better sense. And please give me quick feedback. Does that make more sense? Do you have questions about what I just explained? Okay, so I'll give you a chance to type that in. Go ahead, Mason.
I'll just put it in another way too, because I understand this looks, it's like, whoa, your eyes kind of glaze over when you see this. But really, the whole concept of this, and yeah, I mean, you can go through the steps here. What I would recommend is to go through the steps yourself and then come back and watch this video, because then you'll understand the why. And it's kind of hard when you have it. I mean, it was for me too. I'm like, why are we doing all this stuff? Doesn't make sense. But really, what this does is, the whole purpose of this this tracking script is every time somebody clicks something, either on the landing page or at the at your traffic source, it hits our server and gives us information. That's the whole point of it.
Mason, can you show like a report just to show them like what it will come out as, so we can kind of show them some data?
Yep. That's what I was about to do.
Yeah, so, and as Mason's pulling that up, I just want to address a quick question here that I think is very important. Gwen says, where do you suggest that I should do some practicing or testing before I start posting new campaigns? Gwen, no, you should start a new campaign. Okay, you should start a new campaign, and that is how you learn. Okay, and if you make a mistake and your tracking doesn't go through, that's okay. That's how you learn, and that's how you learn to fix things and get them right the next time, the first time around. So I want you to get that out of your head of practice. What if I get it wrong? What if I fail? What if I mess up? You will mess up somewhere. You will fail somewhere. And if you don't, you're just really lucky. Okay, it doesn't happen often. The idea is get started with something using a budget that is okay for you to use for testing, meaning that you'll probably lose it, okay? And start a campaign. Start a campaign. There's no better practice than to actually do it. So, and I'll let Mason take it back again.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to go through what happened here, and then so anyway. Now that it's collecting this data and stuff, and Steve showed you what we did, how we got the targets, why we did it, the landing page, and then we just talked about the setup again of tracking and everything like that with the landing pages. So once you do that, where it said equals keyword at the end of that link, well, it's in a report for us here. So it's totaling, because Traffic Advance is saying, hey, this is the keyword that triggered, or the target that triggered this pop-up, and then this is just capturing that data for us. And putting it in a report. Now, we had some issues in the beginning where it was coming up blank. We were getting like duplicate clicks in here. Leanne fixed that somehow, but just ignore that part of it for now. So here's what happened with the sites. So we didn't really get we didn't get any conversions actually on that. But I'll say this: if you look at this, and we really need to run this again. With like obviously we'll just pause that one, pause the ones that really got a lot of clicks and no conversions, so that the other ones can kind of get a chance to get traffic. Because what happened is we had a few targets that really sucked up most of our budget, and then and so you want to be on the lookout for that, because you don't want to put all your money on one target. We want to test to see if there is if the offer is going to work. And the only way you can really get a good sample of traffic is to have, enough traffic on different targeting.
And let me just comment on something, because I don't know if other people notice this too, but we were talking. Steve was talking about how he got targets for banks, etc. And I'm looking at this and I see Best Buy and Macy's and Sears and KFC and things that we didn't really talk about. So I don't know. Maybe Steve can clear that up a bit and talk about these particular targets and why in the beginning of the call you talked about bank targets instead.
Well, it was simply this. We out of the gate, there were two ideas that I thought would work. Okay. One was, go to people that are applying probably, to lower entry to barrier jobs or barrier of entry jobs where it's a little easier to get the job. And I don't want to say prey on like people's naivety, but you want naive people sometimes will believe everything and they'll say, hey, I need to know this, right? Or then the other idea was, or we could put it in front of people, where you actually really 100% we know you need this. Any job can check your credit. We don't, I can honestly go and research if Target does or if Walmart does or if that's going to get really extensive into time. So I'd rather be a little more vague and just say, most jobs are going to check your credit. I'm not saying Walmart checks your credit. I'm not saying, and I can't say that. That would get me in trouble with FTC if I said Walmart will check your credit report and they don't. I can't. That's misleading. It's deceptive, and So the idea out of the gate was, let's just kind of be broad. Let's look at like Macy's. Let's look at KFC. Let's look at Racetrack or QT, like gas stations and Shell, and let's just get a broad sense of entry-level jobs out there, and where the clicks are, where the money is, et cetera. And like Mason said, we really just need a lot more data for this to determine whether it's going to work or not.
Yeah, too much of our data was bunched up on too few targets.
Exactly. That brings up another point. Like I mean, everyone to each their own, but I usually put 20 targets in a campaign and let it run. And if I'm not seeing enough traffic, I'll add more. If I'm seeing traffic from 3 or 4, then I'll basically either pause if it's 800 clicks and no leads, or if I have like 3 leads and 200 clicks, I might just take that one out by itself and put it into a new campaign and call it winners. And every time I get a winner, I put it into that campaign. Everyone has their own ways of doing it. That's how I generally do it. Is I'll take my testing campaign, I pull the winners out, put it in their own campaign to scale, and then I take the losers out and I keep testing. You just keep a list in there. Some people do 20, some people do 1,000. But like Mason said, if you have like a $50 budget a day, and you get like a BestBuyJobs.com or Advanced Auto Parts job, it's going to suck all your traffic out of the gate, and you're not even going to see traffic to some of these other sites. So it's there's a lot of strategies involved with that, and really it's what you think is best. That's part of what makes you a good marketer. Is
we don't just want because people say, well, for certain offers, you want to kind of give them a certain amount of clicks and things like that, and that's fine. But we don't want all those. I mean, just like in AdWords, we don't want all those from one keyword, right? Because then we really don't know anything except that keyword didn't work.
Exactly.
So we really want to know if the offer and the creative is going to work. Now, the thing that concerned me the most, and the reason why I actually just paused that and we started doing something else, which I'll show you in a second, was because the click-through rate from the offer. So this is the bank one that he was talking about. We were going to build out some different creatives that were more targeted to banks, and we need to test this more. We didn't run it enough. So we're going to do that this week, and we'll show you next week. But the thing that concerned me was people are not clicking through from the landing page to the offer, which is even worse than not having conversions. That tells me, hey, maybe there's something wrong, either with the tracking or with the landing page. So, like if you look here, we got zeros. I'm pretty sure we had a tracking issue on there. We still need to look into that, and we're going to actually probably today or tomorrow. But overall, if you look at this, our click-through rate is terrible. 0.5% of
Yeah, you
people
want to
that
see at least
saw.
one. You want to see at least 1%.
Yeah, the people that do click through are very qualified. They're very targeted because they've now seen something and then they've expressed interest by clicking. And so it's okay if fewer people see the offer if the people that get there get to the offer have been pre-sold a little bit and they're a little bit warmer when they get there. Because a lot of people think it's like, isn't that a barrier from people being able to actually see the offer and convert? And the answer is yes, but also it can actually, a lot of the time can give you a higher ROI, even though less people actually saw the offer. So that's why people do landing pages. I think Steve already explained most of that anyway.
There's another benefit to doing landing pages. You have a lot more control of your traffic. Like we could set, and this is something I haven't talked to Mason about yet, but we could set a retargeting pixel on our landing page, and this is job data, so we can retarget that list on some sort of RTB site because we already know these people are looking for jobs and hit them with something.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, that's really good. I never thought of using PPV to retarget. Man, that's like cookie stuff and retargeting pixels.
Exactly. But it's legit. And then when you retarget, you can actually use you can target any, like you can go to Monster and put your ad there. You can go anywhere, So, and that's a whole nother level. But that's one of the benefits of using a creative is that it'll give you a lot more control of the traffic. I can't direct link and do that.
No, because you don't. Yeah, that's a really good point, Steve. I've never actually done that before with PPV, so we should try.
We're about to.
All right, that sounds good. So anyway, that's the thing. I think we do. I'm not sure why, because like if you look at these test ones, these are when I was like just doing test links and then clicking through to the offer, and it was showing zeros in terms of clicks. So I think there's some sort of issue with that. But you were looking on the back end, right, Stephen? It was kind of matched into the report, right, in the network. Okay. Well, I mean, Okay. So anyway, so I paused that one just because mostly the reason why is because the click-through rate was so terrible. But we're going to work on that, and that happens, no big deal. So another thing that we did was we ran a direct linking campaign. And this one actually has conversions, so it's a little bit more exciting, I guess you could say. So I did a couple of things on this one. So we have this little 2-field offer that pays out $560. I believe you showed that landing page, didn't you, Steve?
Yep.
Already? Okay.
That's what we discussed.
Right. So back in Traffic Vance, I had 2 campaigns. So the first campaign was, we'll look at that real fast here. It's so it's jobs credit general. This one had a lot of traffic, so we can actually go in here and look at our targets and stuff like that. We can get reports from them in terms of the cost, because CPV Lab doesn't have the cost in there. You have to get the cost from your traffic network, and they're here. It's all here. So if you go to reports and you go to however you want to look at it by day or whatever, and it'll show you the targets, and we'll talk about that in optimization next week. But it'll show you the targets, and then how much you spent, and then how much you're actually paying for those. And we can actually see that here if we look at our target list again. So what I would probably do is, what we're going to do is work on the next steps on this one, since it didn't work. We're not going to throw the whole thing away. What we're going to do is we're going to check the tracking again, because I think there's still an issue with the clicks not showing up in there for some reason. I've never seen that before. So we're going to look at that. Then we're also going to go ahead and pause the targets that really got a ton of traffic and no conversions, just so to give the other ones a chance to get some traffic. And so we're going to pause those, and then we're going to, like Steve said, which I think is a great idea, we're going to put a retargeting pixel on there, which if you don't know what that is, you can Google it, and we can talk about it next week once we do it. And then so those are the things we're going to try. But in here, you can adjust your bids and everything else. I believe Steve showed this before, but What I do is I just come in here and select them all when I'm starting and hit the use opening bid. It's kind of a recommended moderate bid or whatever. Now, used to back in the day on Traffic Advance, whenever you bid something, that was what you paid. But the good thing is now, which was a super pain, because everyone it was just constant bidding wars every hour, right? Like, because you had this one target that was killing it, and somebody else would up you a tenth of a penny, and then you would have to go back and up them a tenth of a penny, and then you just do this all day. So now, at least, advertisers come and go and stuff, and it's more of an auction system now. So if you could set your bid higher, at 10 cents, because before if you bid 10 cents, you would pay 10 cents. And, that's ridiculous, especially if there's no one else bidding on that or there's only a couple of people, right? So now don't be afraid to set your bids a little higher, and then it's going to just kind of bid you higher than the next guy, or whatever, based on what you're willing to pay. So, it shows what your actual bid is. If you, it's not showing this current hour. Just show you what the report looks like here. Okay.
Another thing that's important to look at is the activity, because if you have a high activity, creative or target, then that means obviously there's scalability, but you have to make sure you look at your bid and, make sure that target's working before you get crazy with it, because it's going to get a lot of clicks.
Yeah. If you see one that's like really high, like the bar's really full, you might want to just go ahead and split that out into its own creative so you can manage its budget by itself.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's smart, because then what happens is none of these other ones are going to get any traffic, because this one, if you're just testing and your budget's $10, something that has as much traffic as what you saw in our report there, how much traffic you got. I mean, it shows it right here too. It's going to drain your whole budget in 5 minutes. So, I mean, it's not that you don't want to test them, because if you can get a high volume target profitable, you can make a lot more money. But at the same time, it's not going to let the rest of your campaign's not going to get any play at all. So you can see here. So I mean, basically, it's just the whole concept is all we're doing is we're just trying to find how much they make, which on here they call that earnings per view. So for every view, how much money do you make? So it knows that we make $5.60 a conversion. We have one conversion, so we made $5.60. And we had 4,700 views. So when you divide that out, it averages out to a tenth of a penny EPV, which is terrible. So I didn't keep running that, because I thought it was interesting, because if you can find something to run on Obamacare, you're going to bank on it because it's pretty cheap, and there's a ton of traffic. Yeah, there's tons of traffic. This particular offer didn't work. We had a zip submit that got pulled down the same day that we tried to run it, and they didn't tell us about that, and so then we didn't get I tested my own zip code in there, and we didn't get paid for that either. So I don't know what their problem is. But the two field, though, if you look here at healthcare.gov, so now we have an earnings per view of 9 cents, 9.5 cents, right? And this 700 views and 12 conversions. I would consider that significant. So that's enough where I can actually go in here and change my bid. So let's take a look at that really fast. Back in healthcare here. So yeah, I have it in here. I sort of expanded on this one because it was is profitable. So if you want to just look at that particular target, because now I've got hundreds of targets, I don't want to scroll through there. You can add that to the target filter. And there it is. So, unfortunately, it's getting more expensive now because everybody's bidding on it all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's getting really expensive.
That always happens to me. Whenever I find something good, then everyone else figures it out.
Yeah, it's called box of ads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Like, everyone's spying on me, stealing my campaigns. Okay. Well, anyway, I think I moved it to a different creative group, but we know that it backs out to about 9.5 cents. Right now, I'm bidding 15 cents. I'm like not getting any traffic anymore. So that's okay, because the idea that I had, and this is sort of an outside the box thing, we're still testing it. It's working so far, but the idea that I had was, maybe any .gov site would work, because most of them, no one's bidding on, Miami-Dade.gov, right, for the city of Miami or something like that. And they get traffics, and there's tons of them, and nobody's bidding on it, and so it doesn't have to convert that well in order to be profitable, because it's a penny, right? So my thought is, hey, if you pop up over a .gov site, they think that it's, the user might think that it's actually from the government site. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the mindset is. I mean, it's legal. We're not making any claims about being from the government or anything. We don't have any landing pages that's, with Obama's name on it or anything like that. So, I mean, the point is, this is a hot trend right now, so it's something that you can capitalize on. You got to be a little bit careful about how you do it, because, it can get pretty illegal pretty fast. But in this case, I just grabbed a bunch of .gov sites. We grabbed a bunch more today, and, some of them have been converting for some reason. We can speculate, but we don't know exactly why. But I'll take it.
You don't really need to know. As long as they work, we're fine with it.
Yeah, I don't care. We're not making any claims about anything. We're just doing a pop over, which they agreed to receive. So to me, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I mean, we had some conversion from this Miami-Dade site. Also, I think anything related to healthcare will work on this offer as well. I'm going to build out another creative group related. I'm going to scrape actually sites just for like keywords like healthcare, which we didn't try that yet. We just tried this one. Steve said he was getting some conversions, so I ripped him off and started running it too. And now I think maybe we outbid each other or something. But now it's too expensive. Anyway, so I'm not getting much traffic on it, but I've got a bunch of other things here that are starting to show some promise. Now, if you look at this one, actually, I lost $35 on that because I was bidding too much, but I didn't know what to bid because I didn't have enough data. But now I know that it needs to be under 9.5 cents, which means I'm not going to get any traffic. So that's probably a lost cause on that one. If I could get that for a penny, we'd be making 900% ROI, but it's never going to happen. Obamacare.
The other thing about that too is you need to run more than a couple of days to really get more numbers on that. You can't just run, 2 days is good, but if you're getting conversions and you're close to what your bid, your EPV is close to what your bid is, give it a chance. Let it ride a little bit longer. You're not losing a ton. You're getting conversions. You can finagle. And then the other part of it is look at your times. Look at the times of when you got your conversions. Maybe you can cut out like afternoon hours because you weren't converting, but that was when you're getting a lot of clicks. So there's other ways of optimizing that simply just because you see, don't quit because you see an EPV of 0.09 and you have to bid 15 cents. Look at day parts. Look at, because one thing I've noticed is nighttime hours are doing a lot better than daytime hours, right? So all of a sudden I'm going to day part and you can go to traffic events. We did this in a previous webinar and I can say, okay, from noon to 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, I'm not going to run this. But from 5 to 10 p.m., I'm going to run this, and then 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., I'm not going to run this, etc. So just some other ideas of optimization.
Yeah, I agree with Steve on that. However, I'm bidding 15 cents now, and I'm getting zero traffic on it. So that's 50% more than what I'm earning, right?
What's your actual spend though? Is it 15 cents or is it less?
I don't know. I'm not getting any traffic now, so it's zero now. So I don't know. I moved these around to a couple of different groups here, so it's showing zero again, but it had some stats earlier. But whatever. I'll leave it in there. Maybe people will drop out of there eventually, and it'll come back. Not a big deal. It's not spending anything, so we'll just leave it there. But it does give it, but that's just one example of, thinking a little bit outside the box. I mean, Miami-Dade has nothing to do with healthcare, really, just the city site. But, it converted. So we've spent, we're pretty much, you know, doing a little bit better than breaking even right now on it, which is great. So we've seen that. We've seen a little bit of consistency happening. So now we need to make some adjustments to some bids and things, which I've been doing. We'll talk about that next week. And then, you know, once they start getting enough data, then we'll be able to adjust the bids to profitability on some of them. And some of them, you know, maybe are really profitable. We need to raise the bid to get more traffic so we can make more money on them. So those are the things we're going to be looking at. We're just kind of in phase 2 now. We've gotten some consistent conversions. Now I'm trying to just figure out ways to get more traffic. And not all that traffic is going to work, and that's fine. When we get enough data, we'll start removing things. But right now, with this campaign, I'm not concerned about these because I already paused that, and this one's not doing anything. Really, it's from here down, and 44 views on this one doesn't tell me anything because that probably only cost me 44 cents. So I mean, I could spend up to $5 on that one before I would be at our payout of 560. So at 44 cents, you know, I'll let it go a little longer. It's an active target. It's you know, kind of related to you know, government services and healthcare and things like that, and people might be looking for a deal on that sort of stuff, or maybe they already have insurance from the government. Actually, maybe that's why it doesn't convert. Anyway, just things to think about. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build out some more creative groups, just based around the healthcare theme, which is the most obvious thing, you know. I think I can probably find some other targets, such as this one, which converted for me also, related to this healthcare stuff. And, you know, I don't think they're all saturated yet.
Yeah, you know, we have a long way to go with this, baby.
Yeah, we got things to do. I've been doing some things today, which really hasn't been reflected here because it's only been a couple hours. But we'll keep working on it, and we'll let you know how it goes.
Cool, awesome. So that was really incredible, and I know you guys watching might be in a couple of groups. Some of you are looking at this and going, "Wow, you know, he actually showed this campaign," and some of you might still be kind of trying to grasp it, and that's okay. Wherever you are, we're gonna get you to that point where you're actually, you know, running stuff. And I just, you know, I asked Mason to go ahead and show the stuff that's not working because, you know, a lot of times I think when you go and purchase courses online and then you've got gurus trying to show you this and that, all they're showing you is what works. I don't know if they're showing off or they're trying to prove something, but you know, most of the time when you start a campaign, it's not working right. There's something wrong. You messed up like I messed up the tracking on that first one. And then I fixed it. So we didn't get the data correctly, and you know, something didn't work, something did work. You know, Steve went on a whim and added some targets that, you know, and so did Mason, that didn't make any sense, and they started converting. And some stuff that, you know, we were like 100% sure was going to work just didn't do anything for us. So keep that in mind, that I really wanted Steve and Mason to show you that stuff doesn't always work. And in fact, usually it doesn't work, and you got to fix it. And that's how you become really good at this, is you learn how to fix it. Because I don't want you to go in there thinking, oh, you know, they're doing this and it's working right out the gate. It's not. And even if it does, we still have to fix it, because then other people jump on it. You know what I mean? So, and I don't want you to think the other way where it's like impossible because we're making this work. I want you to think of it in terms of, to become good at CPA marketing, not only do you have to understand just the basics of how to set it up, which is what we showed you here, but you also want to understand the psychology of it, which we've been talking about in terms of creatives and targeting and all of that. You've also got to think of it like this: of, I'm a CPA marketer, and what that means to me is that I go and troubleshoot and figure things out, and I know stuff's going to go wrong, and I'm going to figure out how to fix it and how to make it profitable. And that's what's going to make you an amazing CPA marketer. And there's one more thing I want to point out, and then there's some questions in the queue. I want to point something out, which is something that I just discovered recently. And if you notice, Steve's doing part of the project, right? He's coming up with creatives, outsourcing those creatives. He knows what to get. He's coming up with pitch angles and ideas. and he's coming up with targets. He's doing some research, and Mason's going in there and running stuff, maybe adding a few more things, optimizing, and I'm going in there and doing some of the technical stuff and adding links to the HTML and doing those sorts of things and looking through. And I went through on one of the campaigns and I said, hey, this is not set up, and doing the checks. And there's something that I learned just recently, which is when you work on a team, things happen, good things happen. When you're working by yourself, there's always going to be something missing. You're going to miss out on the stuff that you're just not that great at. But right now, as a team, what we're doing is we're performing more. It's not just 3 times better than we would if we were each doing this alone. It's exponential. And I want you to realize that, and I want you to start thinking on the forum. You've got access to the private Jumpstart forum. I want you to start thinking of, what am I good at? What's really easy for me? What gets me really excited when I'm looking at all these campaigns? Is it mobile, first of all, or PPV or something else? Am I really good at coming up with ideas, or am I really good at going through and making sure that everything is set up properly, which is like my skill, right? I'm super good at seeing things and catching the details and troubleshooting little things like that. Am I good at running traffic, at going and setting up on the ad network? What am I good at? And then maybe there's someone else on the Jumpstart forum who's good at the other thing. And I want you to start thinking about teaming up, because what you've got on the Jumpstart forum is you've got access to a private place, safe place, where there are other serious people. Okay? There are other serious people who are taking Jumpstart, who are, they're raring to get going. Maybe they're starting already. Maybe they've done some testing on their own. Like Gwen was saying, where should I start practicing? You should just start a campaign. That's your practice, right? That's how you learn. But consider that you can team up with other people, and you can get something going, and you can get things going a lot faster, and you get the benefit of motivation, because when you can't figure something out, instead of falling back and saying, oh, this crap doesn't work, you got someone else saying, wait a minute, what if we do it like this? So start thinking about posting a new thread in the Jumpstart forum, in the private Jumpstart forum that you have access to, and reaching out to other people and saying, let's work on something together. And if you really want to take it a step further, start a thread and say, me and this other person, or just yourself, if you just prefer to work on your own, are going to start this case study going off of what we're learning in Jumpstart, put it in the private Jumpstart forum so that it's controlled. There's not thousands of people accessing it. It's just the serious Jumpstart people. And we're going to help you with our ideas too. It'll be like us working with you on it. So that's what I want to say is get started testing. Gwen has the right idea. Get started testing by putting together a campaign. Go back to those first few webinars where we showed you how to come up with your creatives and how to do how to find targets. And Steve even showed it again today. And start putting your ideas, not only putting your fingers on the keyboard and getting stuff set up, but putting your ideas on the forum so that you can get some real feedback. And I'm going to get to the questions in the queue now, and then I'll let the other coaches close it out. Carol wanted to know, is Traffic Advance like Lead Impact? They're both PPV networks, Carol, and she's asking, is one better than the other? For certain things, you're going to get different results in each one. They're both very good. The difference is, each one of them are basically toolbars or downloads or something like that. And it just depends who their audience is. And, I'll let, when I'm done going through the questions, I'll let Steve address, what he thinks is better or more quality. I remember Steve saying that, because you have to start off with $1,000 in Traffic Advance, you have to fund $1,000. You get less competition in that sense. But I know that Lead Impact is run by marketers as well, by affiliate marketers. And so in some ways, it's a great place to start as well. And let me just get the other questions in here. Carol is asking, what are pop-up over? A person does Google search, and when they click on one, then your ad pops up. So the popovers basically that you get, because there's popover and a pop under, right? So the popovers that you get with leading pack and traffic advance and direct CPV are basically the person either types a keyword in, right, if you're targeting a keyword, or they are they go to a web page that you're targeting, and you know that keyword is the URL, and when they get that on their computer and they have the adware installed, because that's what this is, it's adware, right? They've downloaded games or whatever and they've agreed to get ads every once in a while. If you're bidding on that page, your ad will pop up, your page will pop up. That's a popover. And if it's a pop under, it's going to pop under everything. And once they're done with what they're doing and they close everything, they're going to see your pop under. They're going to see that ad. Okay, so and again, the other coaches can add to that in a second. And Carol says, Leanne, I really appreciate your input because I've spent a couple of years and a lot of money buying into program after program just to find none of it works and there's no support. You guys are a breath of fresh air. Thank you, Carol. That's awesome. For the first time, I think I might actually learn to do something online. Hell yeah. Okay, awesome. Thanks for that testimonial, Carol. That's awesome. And I really hope that you do go in there and get something started. That's all you got to do is get started. So Steve, let's have some closing comments and any responses you have to those questions we just went through, and then we'll go to Mason after that.
Sure. Well, Carol, that's awesome. Thank you very much, because that's one of our goals was, you know, we talked about a lot of the courses in the past, and you know, you can't just teach what works and nothing else. You have to teach everything. You have to show failure so that other people, when they fail, they see that you failed also, and look, that's part of this game, you know. A lot of what Mason and I really talked about today, you know, we have years of experience doing this, and it's not going to be as easy for you guys. It just isn't. You have to understand going in that, you know, there's a learning curve, you know, and the more you do it, the less of a curve you have, you know. Action, and like everyone in the forum has talked about, you know, failing forward. I love that terminology, and that's what it is. You know, you're just spending money, and you may be losing it by getting data, but you're also educating yourself and you're learning. So don't look at it as a lost cause and spending money that, you know, you never get back, because you will get it back if you learn from your mistakes. So just take that in mind when you do start, Carol, because that's really important. And please ask any questions of us. You know, I'm happy to answer them. Overall, I just want to say, you know, like, this is one traffic source, PPV. You know, there's plenty others out there, but when you understand the core, like, you know, just the core functionality of tracking and setting up campaigns, it just, you can take that into the next traffic source as well with what you've learned here, and your learning curve there is far less as well. The reason I think PPP is good is, well, it's going to be a lot less expensive to learn, you know, where I can bid a penny versus PPC where I have to bid $1, you know. So, you know, that's one really good benefit. The other one is, like, you know, I'm big on this, but I love targeting websites. You know, I love targeting websites because, like, healthcare.gov, why does everybody go there? Well, everybody goes there for health insurance. So what can I put up there? That's easy. So I'm not looking at 50% of my audience. I'm looking at 100% of my audience, you know, and, you know, so that's going to save me money out of the gate too. A lot of reasons. But anyway, you know, this has been a long webinar, a lot to take in for you guys. I'm really glad you guys have all followed along. And I'm excited to show you more about what Mason and Leanne and I can do with this, because it's got a lot of potential.
We also have, just so you know, we also have some mobile campaigns that they're actually already set up. I just got to review them and then set them live. So we're going to do that as well. I know Russell went over that before, but if we can get some more things in there on the optimization webinar, we can, you know, show you some more mobile stuff too. I do it a little bit differently than Russell. Not to confuse anybody, but you know, if you want to see that, then you know, we'll show that too. Other than that, I would say, you know, just, yeah, I mean, you could get started with this for like $10 a day. Just do just some direct linking if the landing page stuff confuses you. Just scrape targets, you know, for keywords that are directly related to the offer. And that's the lowest risk and the easiest thing to do. And your success rate isn't going to be quite as high if you don't have a landing page, but you can do it faster and cheaper. and without any code or anything. So that's how I would start. If I were you, it's not that hard. I mean, I'm going to set up some new creatives today. It's going to take me about 5 minutes. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to scrape it. I'm going to clone the creative over, and I'm going to, let it go. It's really simple.
So I'm personally really looking forward to the webinar that we're going to do for you on optimization. We've already showed you a lot of that, both on mobile and PPV. We're going to really go into depth on that because I mean that's what makes you successful, is the optimization and the changes and the seeing what's working and what's not. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. We're also putting together a little bonus webinar for you, and I'll let you know about that. I'm not sure if we'll do the bonus webinar first or if we'll do the optimizations first, but we'll make sure you get all the information that you need. And again, I just want to reiterate, to make this work for you, to make this course work for you, because, oh my gosh, all the incredible information that we've shared with you so far and that we're going to share with you yet, you need to put it into action. And I can't force you to get started, okay? But if I could, I would. If I could, I would. In the least, go into the Jumpstart forum, start a new thread. Don't be afraid to start a new thread, okay? Start a new thread and say, here's what I'd like to try. Here's my journey. It doesn't matter if you have no idea what you're going to do and you're just thinking out loud. Think out loud in the forum and let us help you make something happen. Make something happen. Okay, so that's how I want to end today. Thank you very much again to Mason and Steve for all the incredible content and for just openly sharing everything. And thank you guys for all your questions and your attentiveness. And we'll get this up in a few days for you so you can review it. And we will see everyone on the next call. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.